I was 6 years old when my mom and I decided to visit her relatives in the south. I was very excited to meet my cousins, but at the same time I was quite worried because we were different. Because I'm a girl, they're boys. I grew up in the city, they grew up in a village. They spoke Kazakh. I spoke mainly Russian, although I could understand them, but sometimes, once in a while they would use some words I didn't understand or sing songs I've never even heard before, so bonding was not easy. They would tap me on the shoulder saying, hey you, girl from Almaty, you fancy going outside? They love being outdoors, and so did I, but not when it's 50 degrees out there. I used to put my hat on, to put my sunglasses on. If back in 1996 I knew what SPF was, I would totally apply it. Despite all that, and despite my preparation, I used to have nosebleeds every day, and I had to stay indoors most of the time. So as you can imagine, that bonding thing was not really working out for us. I remember I used to call my dad, if you remember those round dial-up phones, and I used to complain that I missed home and I wanted to see my friends. One of the main things we had to do was to visit 1 or 2 families a day from our relatives and friends, and everywhere would basically mean a huge table with food, and at the end of the meal they would bring huge crystal bowls with biscuits and candies and sometimes cakes. And so once we were at our uncle's and they brought the crystal vase with candies, and what my cousins did, they rushed to the plate and they started grabbing as many candies as they could. They didn't even eat them. They used to fill their pockets, and it looked quite wild. I thought, wow, like these kids have no manners. I didn't know what to think. I thought they should behave properly. So I was unwrapping that one candy that I managed to get, and I was thinking that a child should behave properly. We should sit down quietly, listening to our parents, not interrupting when adults are speaking, and yeah, that's what I thought back in the day. Remember, I was 6, so we were not 3 or 4-year-old kids. We don't really understand anything. We were rational human beings. So later that day, we all returned to our grandfather's place where my mom and I stayed. And our grandfather gathered all the kids in his room, and we sat on the floor around him, and he asked us, "So, kids, how was your day?" And everyone was very excited. They were like, "Excellent." I didn't show much excitement. I was like, it was okay. He was kind of sarcastic. He would say, "Gaukhar, I'm glad that you're loving it here. So, what did everyone bring me?" And that's when my cousins, my so-called rude and not so well-mannered cousins, took out all the sweets from their pockets and handed them to our grandfather. Everyone, except for me. My grandfather decided to really rub it in. He said, "Oh, Gaukhar, you didn't bring anything? Don't you worry, honey. You just didn't think of your grandfather." I cried. Back at the time, I thought, well, what's the point of being well-mannered and knowing how to behave properly when all you care about is yourself? When you can't be there for someone, you can't be out there for someone you love. And at that age, I didn't know how to show my affection, so I thought I would bring as many candies as I could every time I met my grandfather. Well, little did I know that it was the last time I saw him. He died shortly after our visit. And that's how I encountered that dilemma of morals versus manners. And a lot of great minds ideated about that. So what's the difference between morals and manners, and is there really one? In 1916, a person with the name Johnston wrote in an international ethics journal an article called Morals and Manners, and this is what he said. The plain man cherishes the distinction between morals and manners. Morals, he believes, are of the heart, and manners are only skin deep. Morality is the expression of a man's inmost character, whereas courtesy of a superficial veneer. Morals are natural and manners are artificial. Morals are honest and straightforward. Manners are deceitful and sinuous. The popular mind delights in such contrasts as that in The Cloister and Hearth, which is a piece of literature from medieval times, between the rough and unmannerly German who sells good shoes and a smooth and polite Frenchman who sells bad shoes. So that was quite common to think that, well, morals are good and manners are not so important. But Johnston himself claims that although they can be easily distinguished, that manners actually form a special department of morals, that both of them are important. Greeks and Romans, they never differentiated the two, and for example, Plato said the unity of both is his ideal. I very often hear that people in our country are not so well mannered, they're quite rude, and very often I hear that from foreigners, and especially from our fellow Kazakhstanis who lived abroad, and apparently they cannot adapt back to reality where it's okay not to smile, it's not considered outrageous that someone might be rude to you. And although these people who criticize our fellow men, they know that once you get to know a local man, most probably he will be quite friendly, he will be eager to help, but you just get to that point where the distance is no longer there. So shall we stay good inside and rough outside as we are now, or shall we be like me when I was 6 years old, when I was very polite, very well-mannered, but not so kind-hearted as my cousins? Or shall we listen to Plato and try to unite both? Well, it's your call.